What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Young black African American boy leaves FBA and explains why he's leaving FBA. And just so you know, you can leave FBA. FBA, even though it was supposed to be a lineage, is not a lineage. It's a xenophobic hate group created by C-lister Tariq Nasheed. All right? C-listing grifter Tariq Nasheed. Now, I've been going hard on FBA for some years now, right? And I know I've been misinterpreted because there are plenty of people that like me who can call themselves FBA, and sometimes I go several videos without mentioning FBA, and then eventually I'll say something about FBA, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you hate African Americans so much." And I have to continuously tell these people that I don't hate African Americans. I am an African American. I love African Americans. That's why I hate FBA, because of what it stands for. What it tricked our young African Americans who are trying to dislodge themselves from street culture, trying to dislodge themselves from this J-man produced commercial culture into something more, conscious. And how while they're on their journey, they run into the grifters like Tariq Nasheed, who stands in the way of enlightenment of black people by monetizing their ignorance on various topics and keeping them trapped in a lower vibration of this FBA thing, right? Because originally FBA was supposed to be about separating African Americans from the rest of the continental Africans or Caribbean African Americans for the sole purpose of receiving reparations solely for us, which sounds like such a simplistic thought process. Because if you technically were to say, okay, well, reparations, now this is hypothetical because you're not going to get reparations from white Americans, because of the amount of money generated through about 300 years roughly of slavery, and then slavery 2.0, which is incarceration, right? The amount of money generated is so vast that it fundamentally changed how the planet operates. You got to understand, there's so much money, it's physically, literally, and economically impossible for them to make that up. And European Americans have not shown any inclination that they're going to give that to such a small group of people. Do you understand how you're talking about trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars to one small? Remember, America's only 5% of the world population. Supposedly, conservatively, African Americans are only 13% of that population. Do you think white people of any political persuasion, I don't care, from all super liberal to super conservative, would give 13% of a 5% global population trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars after their people had enslaved, beat, harassed, and terrorized us for, if you're in North America, 300 years? You would have to be out of your mind to think they would ever, even if they could, do such a thing, right? But if they were to give us that money, the American dollar itself would mean absolutely nothing. And then the money will be useless. You understand? So there's so many reasons why they can't give us cash payouts, but there are other things they can do to repair the damage, right? That would not cost trillions of dollars. And on top of that, if you want to use lineage, there's a lot of white people in this country who fit the definition of foundational black American, right? Who would, because they have ancestors who were a part of the transatlantic, who were Africans who were enslaved, right? They also would be able to be privy to this money, right? So as an African, I much rather my Caribbean brothers and sisters or my African brothers and sisters get some of that runoff money on accident than those white folks, right, getting it because their great-great-grandpapa raped my great-great-grandmama. You understand? Because the thing is, those Caribbeans and those Africans were also enslaved by the very same European entities that owe us reparations. And it's not just America that owes us reparations. It's all of the transatlantic actors in Europe, right? Because America wasn't just America, all right? You had British America, you had Dutch America, you had German America, you had very different Americas. America itself is an amalgamation of Europeans who abandoned their homeland and came here to create this thing called white, to create their own nation of corporate rule, corporate kingdoms, right? So FBA philosophy and logic was flawed, and they're also the fact that they do nothing but concentrate on hating on other Africans is counterproductive. Because if you say you don't have friends, why, and you know that African people, only black people, are the only ones that will ever be on your side in real life, why would you ostracize them? You know, and why would you embellish a small portion of the transatlantic slave trade to make it look, to justify your hate towards them by saying they Africans sold their own into slavery, which is a very lazy interpretation of what really happened, right? Is intellectually lazy, is anti-intellectual to say that, because that's not what happened. But instead of learning to add nuance and context to what really happened, to have a better understanding, they just go with the basics, because that works towards their narrative. And I'm talking about the Tariq Nasheeds of the world, the Yvette Carnels and Ados. And when I say that FBA was created by right-wing conservative think tanks funded by billionaires, I mean that in the most literal sense. As those movements are backed, Ados, FBA is a branch off of Ados. Ados is a right-wing, white, racist, native-created organization to dislodge Africans from each other. And FBA is a spinoff of that, right? Because Tariq Nasheed is an opportunist, and he got involved in something that he wasn't a part of, but he became a part of it, conveniently for those very same organizations. And now that there's enough data out there to show that Tariq Nasheed has no intentions on actually fighting for reparations or anything like reparations. He just fills his pockets with the money of those naive African Americans who think that he's a leader. And all those black social media personalities who use Tariq Nasheed and his large following to bring those very same people in their coffers. So they pander and they artificially prop up Tariq as he's some sort of authority in the black community. Tariq is not an authority in any sense of the word, right? Other than artificial commercial black exploitation that he participates in, along with all the other YouTubers who use him and his crowd, because they're within know, to benefit their own selves and their own YouTube channels, right? But our African American young boys are starting to figure out that FBA is nothing but a group of xenophobic, hateful incels who do nothing but talk shit about Africans. They don't talk shit about real white supremacy, the real enemy, the real opposition, and they do nothing for reparations. And a lot of our young black youth are starting to grow out of that. And they're starting to grow out of it, right? And there's people that are starting to realize, this is bullshit. Even though it may have brought you up to, from where you were, it may have brought you up to here, but now it's time to evolve and move further into some real consciousness, real understanding, real education, real elevation of your mind, and to get away from that bullshit that they've been listening to while Tariq runs his mouth. Utilizing the tactic of hiring people or letting people call in who are not intelligent in order to make himself look intelligent, the way he attacks people, or when he runs into somebody that challenges him, he'll just cut them off or turn off their mic so he can control the level of ignorance that permeates within his orbit. So I want to bring you this brother, and I know he represents a lot of people, and that's why I think FBA is dead. You don't hear them as much in the comment sections. If you notice, you don't see many of them making videos. They're not as amped up as they used to, because the thing is, we black people don't have time for internal fighting inside the house. You see, our fight is outside the house, right? We are at war, and we don't have time to be fighting each other. We don't have time to be divided. We don't have time to be boycotting each other, right? When this is our moment. It took hundreds of years for us to get to this point where it's time for the pivot The final pivot that none of us believed was ever going to happen within our lifetime. We never, honestly, none of us thought this was going to happen within our lifetime, but we're seeing it. So we must take this opportunity to elevate ourselves in every facet of society, right? And that includes getting rid of the enemies from within, which is Tariq Nasheed and people like Umar Johnson, who pretends to be Pan-African, pretends to be pro-black, but displays his individualistic, egotistical, egomaniac personality in Front Street. Right? We have to get rid of those roving preachers. Umar's a roving preacher, says all the nice words. It makes plenty of sense. Talks a lot of truth. The devil tells the truth all the time. Right? But the truth is being manipulated to manipulate you. Right? It's about the actions of these individuals. Right? And Tariq, there's no real difference between Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson. They just use different methodologies to take advantage of the people that they want, that they believe they have the power to take advantage of. But without further ado, let's listen to this young brother and see what he has to say about FBA and why he left. Anyway, that's all I got to say. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
The FBA movement is such a disappointment. As a black American, I thought it was going to be something that we could use to reclaim our identity and, have something to identify with, like for real, instead of like African American. We're foundational black Americans because we built this country. We're the foundation to the United States. I've known about FBA since the beginning. I followed Tariq Nasheed from the age I was 12 all the way up to earlier this year, so almost 10 years. There were definitely signs that it was going to go in a very bad direction. First sign should have been this flag. Now, I don't really have a problem with the American flag like that, but if we're trying to have our own ethnogenesis, we should have a flag that's different than the United States, because it's really just the American flag. I didn't know till later that we do have our own flag, which is this flag, the Black American Heritage flag that's been around since 1967. I think it's crazy that so many FBAs are claiming the American flag, the colonizer's flag, over this flag. The second one, and this is my main problem with it, is it became a pretendian movement. In the beginning, it wasn't really that direct, because when he would say what we are ethnically, he would say, yeah, we are African genetically, some of us came from Africa. It would go from, we're African genetically, but we just live in America and we're black Americans now. Then it became, some of us came from Africa, and then it was just, we were already here. And now what you have is people who identify as FBA saying, oh, we're aboriginals and we was already here, and the FBA is just another label that they add to the mix. And the last thing that happened more recently is when it became MAGA. There's a lot of FBAs, they're like these patriotic people. It's not really about us having our own ethnic identity, but trying to be some kind of conservative, black American, aboriginal thing, whatever it is. A lot of them are basically black conservatives, but with a slight little twist. And the fourth thing I forgot to mention when making this video, it just became like anti-African and anti, Pan-Africanism. I'm not a big Pan-Africanist, but if we're going to like have any allies outside of Black America, it's going to be other black people in other places. And I don't know why we're completely shutting ourselves off. Now, I'm not saying every African loves us or every Caribbean loves us, but internationally, these are the only people that's going to be there. But yeah, FBA becoming what it is now, it really sucks, especially since I used to follow Tariq for a very long time. I liked all of his videos. I watched like every single live, and became what he's known for now. That just sucked. I thought FBA was going to be a positive thing for our people, but it just became pretendian MAGA.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.